Bienvenidos. Welcome to A Tu Salud, the definitive podcast for Latinx health policy, where we talk about all things policy, all things Latinx, and our health. I am Dr. Seciah Aquino, Executive Director at the Latino Coalition for a Healthy California. And today I am joined by Luis Campillo. Luis is not only LA Regional Director at AARP, but also a powerful board member. Today, we'll be talking about how beautiful, powerful, and diverse our community is, how this community wisdom really roots our work in policy, and how our stories help us and guide us in that journey of achieving health equity for our communities in California. So let's get started. Luis, bienvenido.
Muchas gracias.
Gracias por acompañarnos.
No,
Qué alegre
gracias a
tenerte.
ustedes por esta conversación. Really looking forward to this conversation and this podcast.
Thank you so much, as is we. Bienvenido a Tu Salud.
A tu salud.
A Tu Salud. Who would have said that someone from Colombia y Guatemala, both amazing curly-haired
That's right.
individuals, would be here chatting today about health equity?
I know. Here
Isn't
we
that
are.
amazing?
It is amazing. And I'm glad we're bringing curly positivity to the world.
That's right. That's right.
Although I have my hair up at this moment in time.
Well, bienvenido.
Muchas gracias.
Today, we just want to have a conversation, get to know you better. As you know, representation matters, and our communities are so diverse, so beautiful, that we really want to get to know who are the Latinos leading the health policy, health equity movement in California.
Mhm.
So we just want to chat, get to know you a little bit better. How does that sound?
Sounds great. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm a little humbled because I think when I think of Latinos leading the movement here within California, I think of you. I think of some of our colleagues on the Latino Coalition for a Healthy California and others who are doing so much to move forward our comunidad.
Oh, thank you. We couldn't do it without you. And thank you for being our amazing board member.
You're welcome.
All right, well, let's start there. Can you tell us a little bit more about you, who you are, your story, where you come from?
Yes, of course. So as you mentioned, my story starts in Colombia. I was born in Armenia, Quindío, Colombia. So for those folks who may not know, sort of the inspiration for Encanto is actually el eje cafetero, the axis of coffee as it's called. Muy precioso, montañoso, muy verde, really beautiful. So I had the opportunity to come to the U.S. at a very young age. So my grandfather lived and worked in Rhode Island. He petitioned for my mom and I. So that's why we ended up in Rhode Island. And while Rhode Island was very small, it was very diverse. So actually there were a good number of folks from Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, Guatemala, El Salvador, and other parts. Not a lot of Mexicans at that moment in time, but we just kind of got a sense of how diverse of a community it was. It was tough, obviously, when you're a young immigrant person, having to grow up very quickly, having to learn the language, stepping up to be the interpreter in many instances, complicated issues, things like that. So going through that, also being a proud mama's boy, single mother who raised me, but at the same time being very lucky that I had a group of family and a group of friends and their family who kind of adopted us and supported us. So folks who became mentors and coaches. And obviously growing up in that context, really grateful for having the opportunity to focus both on academics and sports, and also having the opportunity to be supported by my community. And I think my journey to college started at a JCPenney, where I bumped into my sophomore year, junior year. I bumped into my guidance counselor from junior high, Mr. Aus, may he rest in peace. He told me about where you're applying to school. And I was like, well, I'm thinking about these schools here in the New England area. And he told me about how he thought about Brown. I was like, Brown, what is that? He was like, oh, this is great school. My kids go there. You should look into it. I had not heard about it. Even though it's 10 minutes away from where I grew up. And I checked it out. I applied and I got in. And once I got in, it kind of hit me the type of institution it was and the type of opportunity it was going to be.
The weight of it.
Yes, the weight of it, but also learning so much about our comunidad, right? As an
Right.
immigrant Latino, being able to speak Spanish, being able
Yeah.
to dance cumbia, salsa, todo eso. Obviamente yo tenía una idea muy particular of what it was to be a Latino, but then
Right.
learning about the Mexican American experience, about the Puerto Rican experience, the Dominican experience, and realizing that even though we came from different places, we share a different history, sometimes we share similar traumas
Yes.
and
1000%.
colonial history, all those things. But all that to say that it was really a transformational time for me, and part of the reasons that I have the opportunity to now sit with you and have this type of conversation with you.
I love it. Thank you for sharing.
Hmm.
I think something that you shared really resonates, the ability to create a community when we get here, right? Maybe we leave our families, we leave our loved ones, but there is something about being in the United States, being in that struggle together. If we come from Colombia, Guatemala, Mexico, we're still drawn together, right? And in that struggle, able to support one another and still continue to highlight our values and our culture. And like you said, bailar salsita,
Mhm.
have a really good meal, and really share that family or sense of unity together.
So true. And the other thing about that immigrant experience is that we share it with so many other folks. So in my experience, there were a lot of good friends, dear friends who came from Portugal, a
Yeah.
lot of people who came from the Cape Verdean Islands, right?
Right.
From Senegal, other parts of Africa. So being
Right.
able to share in that experience and being able to support each other. And I think one of the ways I found my way to be college bound was, learning from my peers, like, oh, what's the FAFSA? What is this
Right.
PSATs that I need to
It's a
take? What is
privilege that we
exactly?
have to
So
learn.
I'm like, okay, I don't know those things. Let me
Yeah.
learn about it. And I was fortunate enough that I had teachers and friends who cared enough to help
Love
me
that.
out along the way.
I love that. And now you're able to share those resources and be the mentor that someone was to you before.
Definitely. And I think tying it back to sort of our conversation around health and the work that the coalition does, and one of the reasons I'm so passionate about this, the work that you all do and that we do collectively, is that as an immigrant kid, being able to have access to that education, which was so important. But more importantly, having access to at that time it was called the State Children's Health Insurance Program,
That's
right?
right.
The SCHIP program. And I know it was because of a program like that I was able to see a doctor, a regular doctor, and a dentist, right?
Yeah.
And things that were really important for me as I grew
Right.
up, and for my mom as well, as she continued to obviously provide for us. But I think it was that appreciation that there were resources, programs that helped me
Exactly.
and my mom as she tried to again provide for not only for me, for my family back
Right.
home, and kind of start our life here. But I guess having a really good appreciation for the type of investments that were coming
Yeah.
to my community that I was able to take advantage of.
Yes, is that intentional investment and policies, right, that
Yes,
make the difference.
for sure, for sure. And I think you realize that with that intentional policy, without intentional investment, there's a lot of suffering, right? And I think that part of the reasons why I continue to do the work that I do,
Right.
both personally and professionally, is to pay it forward and to make sure that we have more access, more benefits, so that people can live to their full potential.
Exactly. And actually, I would love to hear more about that passion for policy. Where does it start? How does your story ground you in the policy work and move you to where you are today?
Yes. I think from the immigrant experience, appreciating the importance of information
Yeah.
and appreciating that in some ways, as I was learning English, I served as as a way for my family, for my mom and I, to get information
Right.
about what programs, what resources were available there.
Right.
So I think understanding that yes, we need to provide additional access for people from trusted sources
Yeah.
about important programs in English, but hopefully in Spanish and other languages.
Right.
And then when I got to college, I think what really got me in the way of advocacy was I became very involved at the campus level, and I think well, first of all, the reason that I decided to go to Brown, one of the reasons I decided to go to Brown, additionally, that they provided a generous financial aid package, was that when I went to visit the campus, I was welcomed by these upperclassmen and women who were just seemed so cool, right? These sophisticated Latinos from across the country who just came across very polished, very passionate, but very relatable too. And then when I got to campus, I realized that the type of supports that we had on campus, the type of faculty that we had on campus, had not just happened accidentally, yeah, exactly, naturally. So a lot of those students, not only Latinos, but Black students, Asian students, and the whole coalition of students had come together to bring about positive change. So going, all the way back from the founding of the school, before the founding of the country, but even in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and so on and so forth. So I got a sense that I had agency in being able to bring about the type of services, the type of professors who were there to represent us and who were there to support us. So understanding that we needed to come together as a community, that we needed to be able to communicate what our needs were, that we needed to form coalitions, that we needed to get organized and do all those things. And at the same time, as an immigrant, I think I always been conscious of what comes with that, right? Yes, I was lucky enough that I was able to come the right way. But obviously, there was a lot of friends and other people who are still trying to get the right way, trying to fully contribute to the country, and realizing that there was this disconnect between what immigrants bring to our communities, the type of information, energy, ideas that they bring, what they contribute, and how they're received and accepted, right? So I think that was also part of my experience. And then I think that wanted to honor and appreciate that commitment, but also pass it forward to make sure that the next generations of students, of Latinos, could benefit from having that additional support that we were fighting for, and also understanding that it was difficult, right? And I think when we, as a first generation college students, it can be tough to adjust to that whole world. And I think part of the reason I went into politics was because originally I wanted to be an engineer, but then I realized that my public high school had not done enough to prepare me for the type of engineering curriculum that I was exposed to. But then I bounced around with international relations. But then I decided, in part because of my involvement in campus, that I wanted to empower myself so I can empower my community. And one of the avenues I saw to do that was through politics and through advocacy.
I love that. I love that. Well, Brown was lucky to have you and that whole community and the
Thank
legacy
you.
that you left.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I'm Brown through and through. Very, very privileged, very lucky to be part of that community. I'm very grateful to be part of that community and still involved there. And it's amazing some of the students and some of the leaders that continue to come out from that community and the type of relationships that we've been able to really forge, all these time and all these years.
I hear that. And I think what's beautiful, to our point earlier around creating that community, right? In this new season, as a young student in college, you also had to go through that process again of creating and finding your home within the college campus, right?
Yes, and actually finding that home. And then I was really lucky that one of my mentors, Dean Mena, he was our mentor, part of the Office of Student Life, I believe it was called. But he was there, one of the first and only Latino male role models that we had on campus. And I know that with his support and leadership, we were able to actually do a regional convening of Latino students from across New England. And when we hosted at Brown, obviously being Brown at Brown.
There you go.
And I know being part
slogan.
Exactly. And and yes, going to a Ivy League institution comes with a lot of privileges and a lot of things, but then you also realize there's a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to school with folks who come from a lot of money, presidents, princes, actresses, etc. So you kind of get a sense for what the privilege is.
Right.
And also folks from Colombia who, yes, they were Colombian, but they
Right.
were at a very different level than I was economically. But in any case, we're able to bring together not only students from Rhode Island, but from Massachusetts, Connecticut, other surrounding states to come together and talk about how is it that we can come together as students, as leaders, emerging leaders within the community, and how can we support each other, our organizations, our schools. And then I think it was through those conversations and some of the folks at my school that have participated in a program called the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute
Okay.
that I kind of learned about the Congressional Hispanic Caucus Institute, CHCI, and the programs that they offered. They offered an internship program, scholarship, and fellowship program. And I ended up being lucky enough to get into the internship program, which took me to Washington, D.C., and introduced me to the world of policy and politics. And I think being able to see Latinos from across the country who were committed to giving back, and then also just seeing potential professions for me within politics, advocacy, and everything that happens in Washington, D.C.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
So your experience at Brown sembró la semillita.
Sí.
It grew at CHCI.
Mm-hmm.
How does it flourish now in your work within policy?
Yes. So now within policy, I work with AARP, which is the country's largest advocacy organization. We're a nonpartisan, non-for-profit organization.
Right.
So we have about 38 million members across the country, and we really represent folks who are about 100 million people who are 50 and over from across the country. So right now, a lot of the work that we do is focused around bringing health security, financial resilience, and social connection to those who are 50 plus in their families.
Right.
So for me, the work that we do at AARP continues that legacy of advocacy and offering information and resources.
Right.
So we want to make sure that people start early in saving for their retirement.
Right.
We want to make sure that people know what they need to do to access whatever health resources they need to. They need to and have the opportunity to access. And we also want to make sure, particularly as we all get older, that they have the social support they need to do so in a healthy manner. And also, apart from all the work that we do to protect essential programs like Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, AARP is doing a lot of work that's really focused on building livable communities for people of all ages and abilities. Yes. So I think what most people consider are the social determinants of health. So things like housing, transportation, civic engagement, employment, all those types of things. We are able to bring our information, our resources, our volunteers. So I'm in the privileged position of being able to educate the community about all those programs, to get feedback from the community about what their needs are, but also encourage people to be involved with us and really learn and take advantage of all the resources that we offer. Most of the information, all the resources that we offer are free to the community.
Right.
So part of my job is making sure that people know that and that they see us as a wise friend and a fierce defender within the work that we do.
That's powerful.
It is.
I really like what you said about the social structure around our elders.
Mhm.
Our abuelitos, abuelitas, right?
Yes.
Sometimes they're just dedicated to the home and they're not able to create these social interactions, these social networks that does get them the resources or the connections that they need to be well in their older years. And we're all aging, right? We're
Yes.
abuelitos in the making.
Exactly. And that's the thing. I think for me, I see that nice natural fit with the work that I do and our cultural value of elders, right? So we respect our elders. And I know most of us have experience living in multicultural families, right? And that's great, right? And I think right now there's a lot of, even within my own family, there's nieces and nephews that have the opportunity to spend time with their grandma. They get not only to enjoy that experience, but they get connected to the language, to the culture. They get that nurturing that they need, and she the grandparents
Yeah.
get the type of energy and let's say resources, apoyo que necesitan.
Yes.
But we also know that for us, we're not going to put our abuelitas, our moms, that they're not going to go in the nursing home.
Right.
They're going to live with us. Hopefully, we have
Exactly.
the information we need to create an accessory dwelling unit so we can convert our garage so they can stay. Either they stay there or we stay there,
Yeah.
or they know that they have health access to caregiving resources like the
Right.
program that AARP has here in LA called Ayudando a Quien Ayuda, which provides information and resources to family caregivers, because within the Latino community and other
Right.
communities, when we're caring for an abuelito, an abuelita, or a neighbor, we
Right.
don't see it necessarily as caregiving. We don't label it as such. We kind of see ourselves, I'm just doing the right thing, passing it forward,
Exactly.
giving
Our
back to
responsibility as a
Exactly.
family member.
And while it's our responsibility, our love and responsibility, and a way for us to pay back, they're not alone, right? And there's
That's right.
resources, both free and otherwise, that people can take advantage of. So those are some of the ways, some of the initiatives that I get to work on and provide
Yeah.
that perspective on, which is pretty amazing.
I love that. And I love the range, right? There is that need for resources, but also how do we make this movement sustainable with those public health, social determinant strategies to make sure that the whole family is being taken care of so that our elders are well as well.
Of course.
That's beautiful. What do you think, and this is a big question, what do you think will take for us to be able to move the needle on health equity for Latinos in California? How do we get there? How do we achieve health equity for Latinos?
Yes. I think first having that end goal in mind.
Yeah.
And I know this is probably will be a little bias on our part, but I do think that the work that the Latino Coalition for a Healthy California, what it's doing is precisely that, right? Kind of keeping us focused on that goal. And also, another thing that we've sort of talked about during our conversation, but also that I know you're doing as well, which is encouraging the next generation of community leaders, of policy leaders.
Pipeline.
Exactly, building that pipeline. And here in California, I know that there's other the Chicano Latino Youth Program. We talked about CHCI and some other organizations, but there's really that need for us to continue to build that pipeline to have the workforce that we need now and in the future. And I think the type of education and engagement that we're doing, right? These are a lot of issues that are important and that our communities are living through, right? So I think for our communities, I know it's not right that most of the time they're the ones that are dealing with poor air quality, with poor access to healthcare, with poor affordability and things like that. But because they're living through that, actually is that voice, getting that voice and those needs in front of not only elected officials, which is very important, but also the philanthropic world, of the policy world, so it can be broader understood. So I see that as the engagement, the empowerment of our community, being able to take back that power that we do have as a pueblo, as a people, to advocate for ourselves, and also at the same time to bring some of the traditions that we have and that have helped us get through some difficult times. So we're talking about family. We're talking about supporting each other. We're talking about the value that we place on sharing, spending time together, and things like that. I think there's a lot of things that our joy, our desire to dance, have a good time, which are always good things that kind of help us keep healthy and stay focused on that. So for me, it's a combination of those things: being able to continue to empower the community, to educate the community, and to also help them see their power as voters, as an economic force, as consumers, right? We are in what I believe is now is the fifth largest economy of the world. And I dare say that the Latino community is an important part of that economy, of the reason why we're there.
Yeah. Oh, we are powerful.
Yes.
We are powerful.
Yes.
I really love what you said about centering community wisdom, right? It is our community members, our families going through these difficulties, these barriers existing within and with systems that were not created by us or for us, right? So there's this need for transformation that'll get us to that sustainable movement and ideally move us from equality to equity to justice, right?
Yes. And I think also we need to take stock of what we've done, right? How we've been able to turn difficult situations into more positive situations. Yeah. So when you think of the farm of the immigrant farm movement, of the farm workers, when you think of
you mentioned Medi-Cal, all the expansion.
Exactly. And then when you talk about what was the other thing that I wanted to say about that? When we talk about Proposition 187, right?
Yep.
So you go from seeing trying to criminalize being an immigrant to now resulting in a community that is actually leading multiple levels within, again, one of the most prominent, influential states in our country. So yes, I think to being able to leverage that resilience, that strength that we have in our spirit and in our numbers.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. I feel like those words are a powerful way to end our conversation today. And again, just with our name, right? May this conversation be a tu salud y a la salud of all of our listeners today.
Así sea.
All right. Thank you, Luis.
You're welcome. Thank you.